What the fuck is up on a Thursday night? Oh, I know exactly what it is. It's time for another edition of Reaper's Underground. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to get in contact with my guest this evening, but we will discuss the film, a little Q&A, a little intimate time with the big bad devil daddy himself, as well as I have an announcement about next week that will literally blow your mind. But before we get into all of that, let's quickly take a quick commercial break to my brothers over in the UK, Poison Valley Clothing. Check it out. Allahu Akbar! Right, that's right. If you like great horror customized t-shirts just for you, check out Poison Valley Clothing on Facebook and get those orders in. He's got amazing new designs. Check them out. All right, so we're here to discuss this killer indie horror vampire film, which is actually one of my favorite genres of all time, as far as horror film goes. So we were going to be discussing Oops, You're a Vampire, in which, I mean, as you can see, there's been so many influential horror magazines, zines, and horror news. As a matter of fact, let's see here. Fangoria called it poignant and beautiful. When I tell you that this movie will literally have you just clutching like in disbelief. It's about a family that they are, I think that, yeah, they're a Bulgarian family, which is made up of two twin sisters and a brother. And you know, it's kind of like the one twin sister is kind of like the outcast, the goth girl, you know, all into Anne Rice and all that good stuff. Mind you, I will be saying this probably more than once during the broadcast. This film is free and it's on Freevee if you have Prime Video, Amazon Prime. So, which was part of your homework. Anyhoozle. So she's kind of the outcast. Her sister is like the regular beautiful one. She's constantly, you know, getting all the praise, all the awards, all the kudos for being little Miss Prissy Pants. Well, it's really kind of fitting to a point. And her brother, now this guy's kind of like far-fetched out there, in my opinion. Kind of a really cool character. What's happening, Jamie? What's up, Kyler? How you doing? All right. So Kyler kind of knows the story of this film. Those of you just tuning in right now, my guest, not sure what's going on at the moment, but was not able to reach him. So I'm going to give you a little bit of the devil's synopsis of this killer indie horror flick on Freevee if you have Amazon Prime. It's called Oops, You're a Vampire, and it's by Phillyflix, And my guest was going to be director Phil Messerer. So moving on, her brother's kind of like this like science nut guy. He's kind of like also odd, but in a kind of a creepy way, but in a cool way at the same time. You know, he's really into like dissecting things. Anyways, I don't want to give too much of the movie away, but so she gets extremely pissed off after this family dinner. They just found out that the parents are splitting up. So that kind of sends Lara, who the main character is in the film, into this kind of like, I don't know, she's just pissed off. And, you know, some time goes by and they're adjusting to just being there with each other. Their dad is left. And so she's at this party and everyone's just all over her sister. She's like the best. And then, you know, the guys are kind of like making fun of her and shit. I mean, who hasn't been the oddball out in situations before? I know I have. Well, anyways, so Lara gets this brilliant fucking idea to cast a spell on her sister, who's getting all the praise and all the kudos and all the ass grabs. So in this event, she puts all this like concoction, you know, looks like a little fucking altar going on. That's okay. Got a couple myself. Anywho, so they're she's trying to give her like just some kind of a ass rash or something like that. Again, I don't want to give too much of it away. So the next morning, she wakes up with this horrific nosebleed. I don't know about y'all out there in Black Flame Land. I mean, I've had a nosebleed, but never died from it. Well, in any whoozle, that's what happens. And then what happens next is going to blow your mind. So real quick, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the trailer for this thing. Because if you haven't watched it yet, you're definitely going to want to check this bad boy out. And you'll see exactly what I mean.
Mom, Lara's eating at me again.
Laura, stop it.
Welcome to my life. That's my twin sister. Never done a bad thing in her life. Enough reason to hate her. Snarls of sister's hair. Blonde and beautiful.
Sit down here. Sit. Raven, get away! Get away! This is kind of the time I'm getting away from...
Research.
She'll be fine. Just a little loss of blood. All she needs is a cheeseburger.
She's a vegetarian.
Of course you are.
Lara, I'm sorry.
For what?
Not trying.
Could you imagine a doctor going,
be your friend?
she'll be
Oh,
fine.
stop
All
it.
she needs is a cheeseburger.
No. No, Helen. Helen, no. Helen. Helen.
I've done some tests on Helen's blood, and I think I know how she died.
You did this to me, didn't you?
I honestly have no idea how you became a vampire.
The new blood cells are dying too.
What are you saying? She needs blood.
Good morning, madam. We're from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Now there's my favorite moment. The Mormons show up, and they need to meet their sister.
Zoning on rocks, slithering around, divorced from everything, while my ice cold tears roll through. I'm a hypocrite, so are
Maybe you should stop giving him so much water.
Did you hear that, young man? No more water until you learn to control your bladder.
So, yeah. So she dies from an apparent nosebleed, as you saw. But the first thing the brother thinks to do is to go get a bowl of her blood to test it. And I'm sitting here like, well, that's odd. Usually, family members are like trying to help the other family member who's about to die. And then, the humor in this fucking film is amazing. Oh, yeah, absolutely, Kyler. Every time that song comes on. First thing it reminds me of is Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. And when I say all the music in this movie is really fucking good, he must have been very, very careful in selecting who he put into this movie, because every scene, and if you look on Phil's IMDb, he does a lot of editing for other films too that are pretty well known. So it's like I can kind of see like he was able to pick and choose the right music for the right scene. It's like it starts off with all this humor, it's very not really lighthearted, it's still dark in a way, but up until this point, it's like the humor goes from super fucking funny to super serious. And I think a lot of what that has to do is the cast. I don't think I've really seen a lot of the cast that's in this film in other films. I mean, there's a possibility I have, but our vampire, holy shit, does she do a phenomenal job of pulling this thing off. And I can tell that there was just a ton of practical effects. His special effects guy was fucking kick-assery. I can't stress it enough. This movie goes from funny to fucking uber serious and then quickly moves into insanity. Now, all of a sudden, after she dies, guess who shows up at the fucking door? You saw this in the trailer just a few moments ago. The sister shows up and she's crying, hysterical. She's like, I just killed somebody. She's got blood all over and all this stuff. That's before realizing what the fuck she is. Well, as a matter of fact, my demons in Black Flame Land, she's a vampire and she fed on the corner and now she's back home. And it kind of just makes you look at the vampire genre just a little bit different in this film. It's like, how would you handle a situation like this where one of your kids dies, comes back's a vampire, and of course you don't try to kill her. The first thing you think of is to go downstairs, take her downstairs, put her in the basement. And suddenly it's like you have to take care of her all over again, like she's a fucking baby. Only this time it's different because you have to feed her. So you have to lure people in. And people, when I tell you, they used absolutely every motherfucking idea under the sun to draw very unsuspecting folks from all corners of existence. You saw the Mormons. That was my favorite part. Anybody out there in Black Flame Land, please let me know what your favorite scene was, what you thought of the overall cast. I usually I go into indie film, especially one that looks really kind of like over the top funny, with a grain of salt, and then come to realize the script writing is great. It keeps throwing you curveballs. I love a good curveball in a film. I like a psychological fuck every now and again. So if you like that kind of thing, you're definitely going to dig this film. There's a lot of indie films you kind of go into it and you're like, okay, I'm not expecting much. It's going to make me laugh. Well, this film has that every fucking step of the way. But let me tell you, The curveball they threw at the end, I was not expecting one fucking iota. I'm like, are you serious? So, man, and I don't want to give it away, but that last scene, I don't know about you, Kyler, because I know you've seen it. That was kind of heartbreaking. It made me feel bad. I'm like, I know this is not it's not one of those big budgeted films or anything, but all of the places that they shot it at, I thought was beautiful. I'm not sure where they shot it, maybe in Las Vegas or Colorado or somewhere, because there was snow on the ground and they were doing shots of Laura walking through the cemetery there. And I just thought it was beautiful. Let's see. Kyler says, I sort of guessed what was going to happen, but at the same time, I didn't know they were going to go through with it. Yeah, I wasn't sure just exactly what Mom was doing once she sent the other two off. I just kind of figured that, the vampiress, whatever you want to call her, we'll just call her Vampirella. When she came up the stairs with the fucking obligatorily long machete, I was thinking to myself, she's going to massacre her entire family. I was getting ready. I was getting the popcorn ready. I'm sitting here going, yeah, this is going to be the fucking Tits McGee, right? Nope. Mom sends everybody out, and then what happens next is just like, it's like the ultimate gift, not only giving your, a child a life, which I can't spoil the rest of this film. But if Phil was here, I would know if I could or not. So I just don't want to, because I want you to check this out. This is not one of those indie films that you pass up. It's almost like a diamond in the rough. And like I said, it's done by Phillyflix, currently on Freevee. If you got Prime Video, check it the fuck out. So fucking good. And even the fangs, I thought, was a real interesting touch. The fangs come down behind her teeth, which gives us almost like a snake effect. Well, I love a good serpent. All righty then. So let's take a quick commercial break, and then I will drop the proverbial bomb. And if you didn't stay to listen to it, shame the fuck on you, because you won't find out until tomorrow. Maybe later tonight. But those of you that are here in Black Flame Land can say, oh my fucking gods, guess who's on the show next Thursday? All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break to my brothers over at Villain Arts Tattoo Conventions. Check it out. That's right. Villain Arts Tattoo Conventions, not just about tattoos, but about sideshow performers and dark art of every kind. So I am back. Unfortunately, like I said, my guest was not able to be with me tonight. I'm not sure why, but I promised that you'd get some private time with the Big Bad Devil Daddy. So that is what you got. We have been discussing the film Oops, You're a Vampire. And it's become kind of critically acclaimed, especially with reviews from some of the biggest and most important reviewers from the horror world, by Phillyflix. And it's just, man, I can't say enough good things about this film. So hopefully we'll be able to get Philly on, here in the near future. But before I close out tonight, I know it's a little bit of a shorter show. It happens, unless you guys got some questions for me. Who here knows a little song called Mother? Does anybody know the album How the Gods Kill? Kyler says I do. Joining me in the underground next Thursday via telephone, but it will be live. And I want to overemphasize it will be live. So if you have questions for this esteemed gentleman of the metal world, when at a time where metal was quite frankly kind of boring, and this band literally, I mean, from the band that the two of them were in previously, which was more of like a dark horror punk, but led to this phenomenon that has gone on to get fans of every age. These are anthemic songs. I am talking about legendary bassist from the band Sam Hain, and you guessed it, to the monolith that is known as Danzig. I have for you Eerie fucking Vaughn. Eerie Vaughn will be here this coming Thursday. That's right, June 29th, 8 p.m. CST. And believe it or not, we'll more than likely be answering some of your questions, depending upon what mood he's in. I am blown the fuck away that Eerie Vaughn would even answer my email when I asked him if he would like to come on the underground with me. Eerie fucking Vaughn started out taking pictures for the fucking Misfits, and then joined Glenn Danzig in the dark, beautifully horrorish punk band Sam Hain, and then would give us 4 of metal's greatest records ever. And I'm talking about the Danzig era with John Christ, Glenn Danzig, Chuck fucking Biscuits, and my guest for next Thursday, Eerie fucking Vaughn. That's right. You heard it here. So I feel bad for those of you that didn't tune in to find out. Shame on you. I guess you'll just have to see it when it hits the net. So at this time, if you got any questions for the Big Bad Devil Daddy himself, please throw them out there in the comment section. This is your time with the devilishly painted up whorish Reaper. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with my guests. So I was like, well, I'd like to come on anyway, because I don't like canceling shows. Matter of fact, I hate it. So I figured I'd come on and at least discuss the film. Go ahead, Kyler. Let me know. Kyler's got a question. Give you a moment to talk amongst yourselves. And while you're thinking about that, myself and my Dark Queen Mischief will be in Denver next month at the Villain Arts Tattoo Convention, which is, I believe, the 21st through the 23rd of July. So if you're in the Denver area, come down, hang out with us, check us out. My guest from actually last week, Reggie Boumouche, will be also there performing her sideshow act, which is just killer. So if there aren't any questions, I will go ahead and bid you adieu. Oh, wait a minute. Kyler asks, what did you think of the effects in the recent movies we've been covering based on the Wired CGI? So are you saying like in action sequences, or like that type of like fighting wire work, or as a means to fly? I just want to clarify, that way I don't say the wrong fucking thing. As far as I'm concerned, most of effects work in recent film, more actors are, to answer this question, are trying to do more of their own stunts. We've seen it kind of across the board, especially in the action genre. But a lot of these like horror epics, you're still getting, okay, I see. Oh, for indie movies versus CGI. Gotcha. Let me tell you, there is no other genre in horror than indie horror that is fucking killing it when it comes to practical effects. It looks more real. You're getting a more real feeling than some lousy, and I'm sorry, you know, some people out there in Black Flame Land probably love the fuck out of some CGI, but I fucking hate it. Why? Because when you're watching a film, you've spent 30 to 40 fucking dollars at the movie theater to get a computer simulated thing. Now, I mean, it's like, does it take a lot of talent for those actors to act around it? Sure, absolutely. Because a fucking director is telling them what to do. And I think CGI in its early makings was actually quite fucking good, because they didn't use it so much. Now it's like oversaturated and fucking sucks. That's just me. Nothing is better than watching, let's say, American Werewolf in London, where every change, every physical change from the human to werewolf is all practical. Is there some tech to it? Sure, absolutely. But they weren't using a computer simulation in order to make it happen. Now, some of these like major epic shits, I can understand them using a lot of CGI because that's fucking hard. They did it in Lord of the Rings. They did it in the Hobbit series. Fucking Harry Potter for the most part. But when it comes to good horror, let's face it, horror started out purely practical. And that's why Friday the 13th was so effective. Halloween was so effective. Motherfucking Nightmare on Elm Street was so effective. Because they weren't using all this like computer generated, you know, fucking bullshit. You know, that's why I'm like, this film I just watched, the film that, you know, Kyler out there in the comment section has also watched, Terrifier fucking 2 was entirely, for the most part, absolutely practical. Every kill was practical. Every, except for maybe like the descent into the underworld and all that other shit. For the most part, that was all practical. So, yeah, to answer your question, indie film kicks all their asses. Now, there are some indie film that maybe have a little bit of a bigger budget and they use a really bad CGI and it comes out looking like shit. Just absolute shit. Half of those like little sci-fi or those little monster movies like Alligator and all that stuff looks like hell. Although in Cocaine Bear, a little bit better, I think. The bear definitely looked a bit real. Especially, ripping and tearing humans to bits. I thought that was pretty well done, but still, that was done on a modest budget. But for films that are like 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, shit, the movie I have coming out in September, the practical effects are the fucking bomb. So you be the judge when that comes out. But coming up on Tuesday night here at the Underground, I have not one but two motherfuckers. That's why I call it Three Devils, One Night. Showing up is John Sorrell of Morgrot Magazine, Morgrot Records, along with one of his artists, Darren Peterson from Luciferian Insectus. My bad. So if you are a fan of black metal, and I mean good black metal, definitely tune in for this one, as well as dark fucking art. John is the master at it, and it's going to be a good fucking time. That'll be at 8 p.m. CST. Kyler says, would you say Cocaine Bear tall? I'm not sure what you're saying there. I'm not sure. So you'll have to message me and I'll try to answer that for you. But like I said, coming next Thursday, legendary, and I mean this in every stretch of the imagination, legendary bassist of not only one of the best horror punk, I guess you would say kind of just really dark, kind of a horror punk band, Sam Hain, which led to the evolution of the band that we know, Danzig. Legendary bassist Eerie Von will be here via phone, but we'll still answer your comments. All right. For those of you that tuned in tonight, I'm sorry. I wish my guest was with me, but I don't like to make a liar out of myself. So that's why I thought we could at least discuss the film, especially if you had seen it. And if you're a vampire fan, of that genre of horror, this is definitely a good movie for you to check out on Freevee. Okay. On Freevee. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Freevee. Why? Because it's fucking free. All right. I bid you all a tasty, devilishly good night. And as you are getting ready to lay it down for Thanks Satan, it's Friday, with visions of vampires nipping at your toes, always stay heavy.